Good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
As we make our way in, how is everyone tonight?
Good, thanks.
Good.
I'll see a pupper. Oh, that's a kitty cat, not a puppers. I've got about 4 till, so we'll give folks time to get in here. Is everyone seeing the slide for the presentation on your screen?
The farmer hauling the,
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good. Actually, I'm going to take us off screen sharing until we get started. So we can see each other for a bit. Lloyd, are you recuperated?
Am I recuperated from?
Oh, you know what? Never mind. I've done that twice now. It wasn't you that had hip surgery. It was Steve that had hip surgery. And I've done that twice now.
Oh, I have not had hip surgery, gratefully. Hopefully I can avoid that. My brother had back surgery, and my brother-in-law had back surgery in the last couple of months. So prayers for them. They're healing.
Yeah, that can be hard to come back from too, can't it?
Yes, it can.
Well, we are a little small tonight, but I didn't think we were going to be this small. We had about 30
Right.
register.
Hopefully they'll still be coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what you're signing.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear Bobby's putting in the chat a family emergency. I'm sorry to hear that.
No, I'm
I think
sorry,
it was
Bobby.
Ann Dixon College at Full Life. So
Oh, I got people in the waiting room and I hadn't let in yet. There we go.
That makes a difference.
That does make a difference. Now we're getting some folks in here. That was my fault. Hey, Steve.
That's right. You're the gatekeeper.
I am the gatekeeper.
Hey, Lloyd,
How are you, Steve?
I'm doing all right, Kathy.
See some other folks I know popping in here.
Shit.
So, Jenny, did you end up doing both meetings now?
Did I miss a meeting?
Were you in the Southeast Regional meeting as well? Was that you? Or am I thinking of someone else that signed up for
Must
both?
be somebody else. When
Okay.
was that one that I missed?
Oh, you didn't miss it. Sometimes when the folks from our state know they can't make this meeting, they'll still hop into
Oh, no, I chose this one. Yeah,
okay.
I'm good.
Well, folks, I've got 7 o'clock. I suspect we'll probably still have a few more people join us, but I do want to get started because we got a good bit of ground to cover tonight. So welcome and thank you all for coming out again tonight to our second North Carolina State quarterly meeting. I'm going to keep an eye on the waiting room this time and try not to leave people out in the cold. And I am going to go ahead and ask, let's see. Mike, would you mind praying for us as we get started this evening?
Yes, absolutely. Jason, Heavenly Father, we ask you bless all of us that have come to the meeting today to do what you've asked us to do to help the less fortunate in our advocacy efforts, both in Washington, D.C. and with our local efforts. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mike. Check the
Thank you,
waiting
Mike.
room again. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And we will go over what we're going to go over tonight. All right. Everyone see that?
Yes.
Half of it.
Half of it? You know what?
Better. Go the other way again.
Let me do this. How's that?
Better.
Great. I'm going to go ahead and just remind you, if you are a guest with us, who we are. We are Bread for the World. We are a Christian advocacy organization urging U.S. decision makers to do all they can do to pursue a world without hunger, Our mission is to educate and equip people to advocate for policies and programs that help end hunger in the U.S. and around the world. I think most of you all know that well, but it's one of those things that never hurts to say more than once. I'm going to check our waiting room again because I just had a phone call and I wonder if that's from someone trying to get in. Let's see.
Oh, is this North Carolina? You said that we're staying.
So this is what we're going to cover tonight. We've already had our opening prayer. We're going to get a kind of a shotgun legislative update. We're not going to spend a lot of time on that, but I am going to give you a link in case you missed the national update. It's a very thorough recording of all of the legislation that we've been working on and the progress that we've made. We're going to talk about our offering of letters, get an update on where we are as a state there, get an update on the Nourish Our Future campaign, and talk about listening sessions. And then we're going to practice a listening session. Some of you may have done this already with us when we introduced the Nourish Our Future campaign. But we're going to practice one tonight and just give you an idea. This is really important to the work that we're doing right now, these listening sessions. They help us to really clarify what we want to ask Congress for once we bring the Nourish Our Future campaign into a set of laws that we're trying to get passed. So the listening sessions are very important. We'll go over some next steps as we always do, and then we will close in prayer, of course. So I'm going to go ahead forward a slide. We've already had our opening prayer. I'm going to give you a link in the chat. This is a link to watch the national legislative update. It's about an hour long, a little over an hour. It's very thorough, and it talks about some of the priorities that we've been working on. And it was very well done. And we've really had a lot more happening, I think, than many people might realize. And there are a lot of things happening behind the scenes right now that are of some interest as well. We were very grateful for the humanitarian assistance that was signed into law just about a week ago. We know that bill isn't perfect, but it does have a considerable amount of humanitarian aid, not just for Palestine, but also for Ukraine and other conflict hotspots. So we were happy about that. WIC is fully funded through the end of the year, and that is tacked into this year's inflationary measures as well, which means that that's not in danger of running out. There was a real danger that several million people were potentially going to lose WIC funding this year. And so we were grateful that that has been funded. We're not really crazy about how these patchwork bills keep getting passed, sort of kicking the can down the road, but that's better than the funding running out. We are working feverishly to build bipartisan support for the Farm Bill. I don't know how many of you are aware. Yeah, SNAP is fully funded through the end of the year in the current Farm Bill. Remember, they extended the old Farm Bill out through the end of the year, which is not ideal. It's not what we want, but it's better than nothing. But actually, the House is moving on their version of a new Farm Bill. They are churning out pieces of theirs. Oh, that's a good idea, Lloyd. Lloyd opened the page and then favorited it. By the way, I will send all this out to you in a follow-up email as well. So If you're not as smart as Lloyd in favoriting things, you'll get all this in a follow-up email. There is a good bit of activity on the House side around the Farm Bill. On the Senate side, it's a little bit more tenuous right now with the Farm Bill, which is a bit strange, but kind of gets into some political weeds that even I don't fully understand, to be honest. Here is our update for in-state. As of right now, we have 21 commitments to do offerings of letters. And we have, at the moment, 9 churches that have completed offerings of letters. If you have completed an offering of letters and you did not report it, here is a link for you to do that. If you're a part of a church or a group that would like to do an offering of letters, we originally wanted all these done before Easter, but we have extended that into June now to the Advocacy Summit. And here is a link to go there. And once again, you'll get all of these in a follow-up email as well. No need to worry too much about it now. But we are still doing offerings of letters on the Farm Bill. Last year we had 25 in state. Our goal for this year is 30. I think that by the time we finish out the year, we'll top that number. It's just that a lot of churches wrote letters later in the year and weren't really ready to come back and do one before Easter. So we're hopeful that we'll get to 30 by the end of the year. If you're part of a church that hasn't done letters yet, if you're not the normal person that leads those letters, do remind your person. And I see I've got people that I forgot to let in. I'm really bad at the waiting room tonight, guys, and I apologize for that. Got some more folks coming in. Everyone that just came in, you missed a brief legislative update. I'm going to copy and reshare the video in the chat so that you'll have it. This is a thorough update on where we are legislatively this year. It's about an hour long. It's a very good video, and I highly recommend it. Some other links going into the chat, just in case you're just coming in, to commit to write an offering of letters, and also to report if you've already written letters with a group or with your church and you have not reported those. If you would please do that at the reporting link there. And I think I've got us all in here now again. So welcome to everybody that I just let in from the waiting room. I apologize for leaving you there on the front porch in the cold. We're just now getting really started. Well, this is our update for offerings of letters. Nationally, we are up to 360 commitments. We have a goal of 500 this year. So we feel good that we're going to get to that number. We know that Easter was a bit of a time crunch for some folks, but we feel good that we're going to get to that number. And again, you have now until the Advocacy Summit, which is June 10th through 11th. Hopefully everyone here has gotten information about how to sign up for the Advocacy Summit. We're going to do some turnout work on that and try to get a good big group from our state to show up in Raleigh, or excuse me, to show up in DC. And to me, there's no better time to be a Bread for the World member than to be in DC in June, and everybody's walking around and sweating together, and there's just a sense of joy and worship and camaraderie. And so I really, really love the Advocacy Summit. I hope that a lot of us will be able to attend this year. We have recently, through a lot of hard work by one of our colleagues, Marco, updated our materials in Spanish. And so here are some links. I will send these out to you again in a follow-up email, so you don't have to worry about copying these down. Of course, this is also going to be recorded if you want to go back and get these from the recording video. But if you get a chance to talk to Marco, tell him thank you. He has done yeoman's work to get these resources available to us. Here's our campaign update. We showed you this chart last quarter. This is where we are now. We're in quarter 2. We're fully into listening sessions. So if you're part of a church and you're interested in doing a listening session, you'll see what that looks like tonight in our meeting here. And we really hope that we can get a good number of those in our state. We've had a few. We've had some that were very interesting. I was able to lead a listening session alongside a professor who teaches doctoral students in social work. So that was really an interesting one. We've had a couple now on college campuses, and we've got a couple more coming up in the fall, already signed up on 2 other college campuses. We actually have 2 at UNC Wilmington coming up next or in the fall. So we're fully into listening sessions. We're completing our letters. The Advocacy Summit, as I said, you should be getting information about how to sign up for that. You should also have gotten information about, oh, I just saw that. Lloyd, you got a listening session scheduled for Saturday. That's really great. Thank you. Make sure you report that. If you don't have it, I'll send you a link to report that, but make sure you get that reported. So this is what we're working on right now. One more update that is North Carolina specific. Behind the scenes, a group of the leadership in the state has been working on our state convention. And we had initially planned that state convention to be December 6th. And I heard from many of you who said, well, that's just not really a great time to do anything, to be honest, because Christmas season is fast approaching. So we have decided that we are going to move that to January. And as of right now, our plan is to have it in the on January 25th, which is a Saturday, in Raleigh still. And as of right now, Eugene Cho is going to be one of our keynote speakers. We're doing a pastor's event in June in Greensboro, and we're going to use that event to begin the build up to the state convention in January. The reason we're waiting until January, that gets us through the November elections. It lets us know who our lawmakers in this state are going to be. We're going to have a lot of new ones, of course. And we want to build some relationships so that we can try to get as many lawmakers turned out as we can. I see your hand there, Lloyd.
Thank you. May I ask a question, Jason?
You may, of course.
Regarding the pastors' meeting in June,
Yes, sir.
do you have information that we can share with our pastors and others that
I
you could
do.
distribute to us?
I will give you the tentative information. I have to wait for Frank to get back from Italy. So if y'all see Frank, last time he was at Disney when we had this meeting, he's on his way home. He's probably on an airplane right now coming back from Italy tonight. We are having an event. This is an event that is in conjunction with the CBF National Assembly, which is happening in Greensboro this year. The pastors' event will be Saturday, June 22nd, and it will be a luncheon. And it will be a very intimate setting for pastors and church leaders that want to spend some pretty quality time with Eugene Cho. There's going to be a panel that will include a couple of pastors, the dean of Wake Forest Divinity School and Eugene. And there'll be just a time of fellowship and question and answer as well. We are going to be inviting folks to sign up for that. As soon as we have the place confirmed, we're waiting to get the location confirmed. But it will be in Greensboro. I'll tell you that much. It will be in Greensboro. Kathy, the convention will be, or I'm sorry, Kathleen, The convention will be in Raleigh on January 25th, Saturday, January 25th. The pastor's luncheon is June 22nd. It is not limited to CBF pastors. It's just Eugene is in Greensboro for the CBF assembly. And so we wanted to give more opportunities for people to meet him. So I'm going to put these in the chat, June 22nd. It'll probably be from 11:30 to 1:30 in, I can't type, in Greensboro. I would give you the location, but I don't want to do that until they confirm for sure. But it will be in Greensboro. So that's our in-state update. I hope you're not too upset about moving the state convention out a month. I don't think many of you will be. Oh, CBF is the Cooperative Baptist Fellowship, which is where I came from. I was a Cooperative Baptist pastor for 17 years. We are leaning into that relationship with moderate Baptist churches. And in fact, CBF has now a staff member dedicated to advocacy work, and her office is actually in Bread's office in DC. So we're working very closely with them, and which makes me happy because that's my people. So here's an update on the Nourish Our Future campaign. So far, we've had 16 listening sessions. So we're just getting started. That number might actually be a little bit larger now. We've had a few this week, I know. There are more than 80 commitments, including 7 commitments so far in North Carolina. We've had 3 listening sessions in state so far. Our goal was only to have 5, so we're going to beat that goal pretty easily this year. And I'm excited about that because these the listening sessions really are a lot of fun. They are very interactive, and there's really never any way to know what will come out of them, but they are they're wonderful at opening our eyes and our ears to hear what people on the ground are experiencing. And so it's really been exciting to hear how these are going. And again, these are key to how we build out our platform. So here's what we've heard so far from the listening sessions that we've had. We're recording this data. I saw Gary pop in here. Gary is our local data expert. We love him, and his attention to making us keep detailed data. So first of all, this platform is really resonating. People really love the idea that we're focused on children and families. There are particular barriers that we're hearing about WIC in particular. WIC is a pretty burdensome program, not only to become a part of, but to remain a part of. And so we're hearing that. The child tax credit is also something that people need more education about. There are some good nonprofits that do that work, but we're hearing that frequently. COVID era changes. There were a lot of changes during COVID that either have been rolled back or are being rolled back that a lot of people want to keep, like WIC modernization. You know, some of the in-person testing for WIC participants were not required during COVID. And so some of those requirements are quite burdensome on working families. There's a broad interest. And I'll just say this as the organizer doing this work in state, not just interest, but excitement about the campus work. Campus hunger is really resonating with not just the students, but there is a deep desire among staff and faculty to tackle campus hunger. And we're really excited about that. And also the Children's Jubilee. The international component is a little bit more difficult right now. Obviously, those are listening sessions that are hard to conduct, and certainly as far as people with lived experience, almost impossible to conduct. But we are collecting a few stories about how debt relief could affect child hunger in other countries. And we're excited about what we're hearing. So with all that being said, I want to stop first because I've done a lot of talking and ask if anyone has any questions. And then we're going to model a listening session tonight. We're going to participate in one together, and we're really going to try to focus our time on the discussion part of this. But first, does anyone have any questions? I know I've said a lot. Go ahead, Kathy.
If I think I sent a report on our offering of letters, but I don't know if it was received, or is there?
It
do they
was, thank
recognize-
you.
Okay,
Yes,
okay,
it was, thank you. With the student group at NC State?
yes,
Yes, thank you.
okay,
And I talked to Patrick about that. I really want to come out on a Sunday and meet with you guys and meet some of those students. So
Okay,
I've got
good.
I've got a lot of travel coming up because obviously June is the summit. But I'm going to try to get up there one Sunday and meet with you guys.
great.
Any other questions? I may not be able to see you on my screen, so if you want to use the raising your hand function in case I'm not seeing you right now. All right, well, let's,
Wait,
I see
wait.
Lolita.
Yes.
Yeah, Jason, I've done offering of letters at our church. I just haven't filled out the form, and we're having a leadership meeting on Thursday to try Black faith leaders. And you've answered my question because I had sent others in our coalition, which is about 7 other churches in Greensboro and several in Winston-Salem, and they had not gotten around to having their offering of letters. But you said we have until June, until the
Advocacy Summit. Yes, yes. So yes, please encourage folks to continue to write letters. If you all aren't aware of what Lolita does, she is an absolute powerhouse for bread. She is amazing for our work in the state, and has a great pastor leading their church as well. Lolita, if you need the link to report your letters, it was in the chat. If you need me to put it back, I can.
please do.
I think that's the right one.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Lloyd, you have your hand up?
Yeah, thanks, Jason. I just wanted to confirm that with our offering of letters, the focus of letters is still passage of a new farm bill, correct?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Okay.
And we actually think that because the House is now moving their bill, this is really a prime time to be going back and sending those letters, because now this is going to be fresh in their minds. We're going to be sending them our priorities again. And I'll tell you, we've had a few closed doors that have been opening to us by lawmakers that want to hear from us. We had a meeting a few weeks back with Senator Budd's office, and actually have another meeting coming up with Senator Budd's office around the farm bill. We had one a couple weeks back about the child tax credit, and if you're not aware, his office has been very hard to get any kind of traction with. So we're happy about that progress. A couple of our representatives that have been pretty withheld about the farm bill have reached out and given us opportunity as well. So we're excited about that.
Hey, Jason, this is Mike Eberst.
Yes, sir.
Along those lines, when we had done our offering of letters, I'd been in contact with Senator Budd's and Senator Tillis's office about talking to someone in their office about the farm bill, and haven't been successful to get to the right person, but they had communicated to me that they would be willing to do some sort of Zoom call, with North Carolina people. So my question is, do you want me to continue to try to pursue this? I know you just said you met with Senator Budd's office and,
And I have another one. I'm waiting to hear the final word, but there may be a meeting with Senator Budd's office via Zoom as early as next Monday. And if there is, I'll send out that link to this group.
okay, and have a communication with Senator Tillis's office?
We have had some meetings with Senator Tillis's office, and I even went to DC and met with Tillis's office. Tillis is in a different place politically right now, and it's made him a little bit more difficult. So, but we will certainly meet with him. Excuse me. We will certainly meet with him before the advocacy summit. We will try to meet with Senator Tillis's office as well. Kathleen?
I'm executive director for this climate health equity nonprofit, and we did some work around the farm bill and set up a virtual visit with Don Davis, representative in I think it's Bertie County.
He's in the North Carolina 1st. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
one of
yeah,
the local districts.
And we had heard going into it that he was ambivalent, and it seems like some folks are thinking that they have to choose between quality nutrition and sustainability issues. I kind of helped coordinate that visit, but I wasn't there, but I heard that he was very, it sounded like he was very supportive of doing both. So that was kind of cool.
He has been, well, his mom is a Bread for the World member.
Well, how cool is that?
And he spoke at our convention last June. He is an independent thinker. He is an independent man from the metropolis of Snow Hill, North Carolina, where he started his political career as mayor. And he is just a great guy and really great to work with. He is like a sponge. He is admittedly new to a lot of this work, but he absorbs it quickly, prioritizes quickly. And there are a lot of good advocates in that district. In fact, I was just there 2 weeks ago, and I'll be back there next week with another group of folks meeting with that district. So yeah, he's been very good.
Yeah. And I just will mention one other thing. I'm really not scattered super thin, but I do work with Porch, which is a nonprofit that mostly does direct food aid, but I'm the advocacy person there. And so I've done templates for folks. They do very brief postcard writing once a month. And so I don't really think I can include it in the offering of letters because it's not a letter like Bread usually thinks about it. But it is kind of cool that there's, 30 or 40 postcards that go out in a month around topics, including Farm Bill stuff.
Yeah, that's really great. And I'd like to hear more about that some other time.
Yeah.
Let's hop into our listening session because we want to have plenty of time to share with one another. This is what it will look like to have a listening session, except our version tonight is we're going to hit fast forward on it a little bit. We really want to land on the discussion part. That's the part that's really the most important to us. So normally we would welcome and open in prayer, but we've already done that tonight. This is our agenda. This is how every listening session in some way or shape should go. We'll present the 4 things that we're drilled down on right now that we're focused on. We'll ask some questions about those things for the room. And every room is different. And we actually have questions tailored to different groups. So if you're working with a church group, those questions are different. If you're working with experts or nonprofit folks, those questions are different. People with lived experience, those questions are different. So if you get ready to conduct a listening session, reach out and we'll make sure that you get the right material to do your listening session. We're looking for themes. The goal of the listening session is to dig up the dirt, the themes. What are the things that we keep hearing repeated across the country from different groups? So that's what we're going to focus on. And we're going to try to find stories. And we may even find a good story in here tonight around this. We're going to summarize. We're going to show you what the commitment cards look like, and then we're going to adjourn. Normally, a good listening session is between 12 and 20 people, and they normally last about an hour and a half. Ours is going to be about a half hour tonight. So we're just going to read these to ourselves quickly, and then move on from these. These are our kind of, I guess, a scriptural and a philosophical basis for what we're doing, from Mark and from Kofi Annan, our focus on children and families. We believe deeply in this policy platform that we're working on. We've already done that tonight. So this is our campaign. And this is what we're doing right now. We're building and refining the platform. And when I say we're building and refining it, I mean, as we listen, the platform changes. And I will say that when we began this, campus hunger was not a major part of it. So already we've seen something bubbling up from just working and building organization and listening to put that on our radar and say, this needs to be a key part of what we're doing. As we do that, we are building champions in Congress. There are lawmakers who are really passionate about WIC. In fact, my own Dr. Adams is really passionate about WIC. We have lawmakers who are really passionate about child tax credit. We have lawmakers who are really passionate about foreign debt relief. We have lawmakers that are really passionate about student hunger on campuses. In fact, that's another Dr. Adams initiative. And so we're finding platform champions as we go, so that when it's time, we'll have sponsors and co-sponsors for legislation. Beginning next summer, at the 50th anniversary celebration of Bread for the World, as we are collecting the letters that we write next year, we're going to try to get this platform passed into law. We're going to try to get these components passed into law. And then we're going to defend, expand, and protect the platform. And what is the platform? And why did we decide on these particular issues? Globally, 45 million children suffer from severe malnutrition. That is the kind that affects children for the rest of their lives. It affects growth, mental and physical. It affects development. Nearly half of all deaths among children under 5 are caused by hunger. And that's just an unacceptable number. In the US, from 2021 to 2022, 12 million children in the US were food insecure, which was a 45% increase from the previous year. What happened to cause such a sharp increase? It was the expiration of the child tax credit that was passed during COVID. 1 in 5 children in the US experience food insecurity, and hunger is an equity issue. 1 in 3 Black and Latino children experience food insecurity. So that percentage is obviously much higher. Nearly half of all college students report being food insecure at some point in the past 30 days. Equity is also a significant issue here. 21% of Black students, 26% of Hispanic students experience food insecurity. Only 9% of white students experience food insecurity. And having been working on this for several months, I can tell you that this is happening on every campus in every state in America. There are food pantries on the campuses of the most expensive universities in our state. People think that someone can afford to go to Duke, surely they're not food insecure, but sometimes their parents have done everything they can just to get them into that university, and there's nothing left over. International students, here's another thing we're hearing. International students in particular, because of the nature of their student visas, often experience food insecurity on our campuses. So this is how we have proposed so far to tackle these issues: fully funding and modernizing WIC so that WIC is more is funded more like SNAP, which means that the increases with inflation. As of right now, WIC does not increase with inflation. Expanding the child tax credit that prioritizes cutting child poverty and ending hunger. The child tax credit was quite simply the most effective poverty reduction program probably since Social Security. Developing an international children's jubilee, which includes, but probably won't be limited to by the time we're finished listening, global nutrition, debt relief, addressing climate change. This is another part of this platform that we're very passionate about, is dealing with climate change, both domestically and internationally, and how that is affecting hunger. And then developing solutions for college student hunger. And this is our process. We are and will be consulting with experts. We are and will be conducting listening sessions, and those listening sessions will be with average citizens, they'll be with church groups, they'll be with experts, they'll be with mixed groups, they'll be with people who have lived experience with each of these. They're with college students, they're with college administrators, they're with professors, they're with social workers, and we are just collecting as much data and finding as many patterns and stories as we can so that we can develop a final platform by 2025. We've already seen this tonight. So this is where we want to land tonight. And I want you at this point to feel free to take yourself off of mute. I'm going to ask these questions and then we're going to have a time of discussion. So number one, how would the potential policy changes impact you, people you know, or ministries in which you are involved? Thinking about WIC, child tax credit, student hunger, international children's jubilee. How would those policies affect you, people you know, or ministries in which you are involved?
Well, Jason, I can attest firsthand as far as college hunger, because my niece was having an issue with that when she was attending NC State. And she's not in school any longer, but that was a real issue, not so much for her individually, but for like some of the people she was living with that, you know, did not have the financial means. And so I could, and you know, that came as a surprise to me when my niece first told me this. This was like 2 or 3 years ago. And one of the positive things that came from that is that my niece has become very involved in a food pantry in the area where she lives down in Chatham County. And so I believe she did some volunteering at the food pantry at NC State as well. But it certainly raised my awareness as well as her awareness just from that, you know, anecdotally from hearing from her.
Thank you, Mike. People are surprised to hear the level of hunger on college campuses, but we are seeing it across the country and certainly across our state. Anyone else? If you'd like, we can move on to the next question. I see 2 hands. Lolita?
Well, I just want to say, with the work that we're doing in Greensboro, we've have been blessed to have received our 501c status. We have an organization called the Triad Black Faith Leaders and Black Farmers Network. And we have several community partners, one of them being the local North Carolina Extension Agency. And what we're working with them on, we're having a farmers market on Juneteenth Day. We have had some planning we have 4 committees that we've set up to move us into 2025 to deal with hunger and food insecurity issues, not only in Greensboro, but in Guilford County and Forsyth County. But one of the things I want to say is that over the Christmas holiday, our coalition members in Greensboro only shared 500 boxes of food to senior citizens, single and two-parent families, a school, and a housing and a community and a housing under our housing authority umbrella. We plan to this holiday season to increase that from 500 to 1,000.
Wow.
But what I want to say is that based on the listening sessions, I'm wondering if ours would be best to have when our college students come back to Greensboro, because we've had some good interaction with college students this year. And as you all know, the exams end at A&T and Bennett next week. Probably need to talk with you, Jason, to think about when it would be best for us to have a listening session, either over the summer or wait until August when our college students return to town.
Yeah, I will tell you, most of the college listening sessions are happening in the fall. So that would be a good thing. But to me, it sounds like you may have 2 listening sessions, because I think that we would love to hear from some of those senior communities as well. I know they're not getting WIC funding, and I know they're not, worried about the child tax credit, but I would think they would have some thoughts on this campaign as well, because I bet you there's some grandmamas in there, aren't there?
Yes. We will talk then. Thank you so much.
Sure, thank you. Anyone else? Which one of these issues resonates with you the most? Which one of these makes you want to get up and start writing letters right now? Makes you want to start making phone calls right now?
Well, for me, the child tax credit, that is so stark, the difference that made and then stopped making. And there's tons of misinformation out there, and I don't know what our role is to try to take the high ground and be honest about how all this stuff works. One of the legislative offices that you've named, and I won't go any further, wrote back and said, well, yeah, we're all for the children, but gee, we've got this budget deficit and we've got to be really careful. And 2 months later, sent however many $1 billion it was to fund some more weapons. So I know Bread's legacy from the very beginning was a stronger anti-war stance, and I understand that's not universally popular, but we just have to somehow make the case about the child tax credit, that it's not some kind of handout that encourages people to quit their jobs. I mean, that's the stuff you get. And I don't know what they think about what it takes to raise children, but it's a heck of a lot more than what you get there. But that is what can make the difference about whether a child is food secure or not. So,
yeah, child tax credit is universally among. When we met with Senator Budd's office, the coalition of people that came together from, people that work with child protective services, people that do tax policy. I mean, and there's a bill sitting there. It's not a perfect bill, but there's a bill that the House passed sitting in the Senate that we would love to get passed. We can improve it once it's passed, but it's just sitting there parked on somebody's desk right now. Jenny?
Yeah, echoing what Lolita said. I mean, the campus ministry is a really big deal for my church, First Lutheran. Pastors on the board of Spartan Open Pantry, and we do fundraising for them, and we do a Christmas appeal for them. I mean, it's a critical issue, and we also partner very closely with Faith Action International House, and really try to keep an eye on their pantry and send them funds on a regular basis and do fundraisers for them, because they're, it's just not a hand-to-mouth organization, but you know, it's just they're scrapping all the time to keep the staff on board to do the outreach that needs to be done.
Right. Thank you. And do you all get to spend much time with the students as you work on behalf of those food pantries, or is it just supporting the food pantry?
Mostly we've been working with Pastor Andrew.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And I saw someone, and I don't recognize the DCIM. Who is that? I saw you pop on and mention NCCU.
Oh, hi Jason, it's me, Bree.
Oh, hey,
DCIA.
Bree. I'm sorry. I
Yeah,
didn't recognize your.
No,
Okay, now
I was in another meeting and then I was driving, so I didn't want to interrupt the conversation.
Brianna is in Durham. She works with Durham Communities in Action. That's what now I know what that means. So one more, are there any policies, specific policies that you would like to include, or even specific asks around these 4 issues that you would like to see included? I see Lloyd and I see Kathleen. Go ahead, Lloyd.
Yeah, so I think a carryover from the Farm Bill would be the importance of equity in the agricultural industry, especially for African American and minority farmers in this country. The loss of farmland owned by African Americans and minorities over the last century or longer is really stark. And I think if we can raise that up as an important equity issue, I'd like to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Kathleen?
Yeah, thanks. I am interested in hearing about I don't see a focus on women, and particularly women with young children and pregnant women. I have thought that the 1,000-day campaign was fabulous, and especially so to some extent, this is a United States issue, but from a global perspective, I'm just totally hurting for women who grow so many of the crops internationally, and climate change is affecting them, and they are getting pregnant and they're having children. Very far disproportionate impact on those young moms. And so I'm wondering if there's a reason that hasn't been highlighted.
Well, domestically, WIC is a big part of that. You know, WIC is such an important program for moms with young children. I will say we are collecting data on exactly what you just mentioned. Climate change, the effect of climate change on pregnant women and nursing mothers, and how that is affecting their health outcomes, how it's affecting crop yields, of course, which also leads to more food insecurity. So we are not only collecting, but I would imagine probably also this summer commissioning some work around that. We have you know, interns and fellows that come in and do research with us, and I would imagine that some of that research will be around exactly that. You know, a lot of what we've heard domestically around WIC is just the burden of constantly going and being tested and being asked questions and having to go back and have those questions renewed, and some of it is it's a lot of travel and a lot of in-person appearances for working families. So but certainly WIC is a huge domestic program for that, for women and young children.
I'm not super up on WIC, but my general sense with WIC is that that of course it could be improved, but that there's a relatively or a very limited amount of produce that's supported by the WIC programs. And so I think that having a much more robust nutritional basis for WIC is another, from the domestic standpoint. But yeah, I hear what you're saying too about the administrative burdens. I know that when I was taking care of pregnant women, and this was about 7 or 8 years ago, there was a brief, well, there was a period of time when they increased the amount of WIC produce by like $8 a month. And I was taking care of groups of prenatal women, pregnant women at the time. And I remember asking them, like, how is this for you? And they're like, it's great. I can have fresh strawberries. I can
Oh,
only
wow.
get like twice a month. I can get them, so more would be better. But they were overwhelmingly delighted with that. And why wouldn't we want to have all our pregnant women eat fruit and vegetables in abundance? And so,
Thank you. You're the first person I have heard in my listening session say that. And so I'm going to flag that because I think that's really interesting. So increasing fresh fruits and vegetables in WIC, that's really interesting. Thank you.
I think that though, I think the nutrition budgets are really driven a lot by producers, and that doesn't necessarily end up with a healthy, dinner plate. So yeah, that's my sense with that.
Thank you. Anyone else want to respond to these? We have a few more questions. I want to make sure we have time. So let's move on to the next page here. So are you noticing any themes both from the platform and from our discussion? Are you noticing any themes? It's important when you conduct a listening session to be listening for those, to listen for things that repeat. And like I said before, normally a listening session, a full one is an hour and a half discussion. So there will certainly be more information to listen to, but those recurring themes become important. We've heard some. I wanted to ask you, Lolita, when you talk about the work that you all did with the 500 meals that you all, or 500 families that you helped, do you all deliver those meals or do they come and get them? You deliver them?
Yes, we actually are going to have a meeting Thursday with a gentleman from Wake County who has, his program is called the Interfaith Food Shuttle, and maybe some of you maybe if you're on board from Raleigh, Wake County, know of him. He's meeting with us so we can learn more about what he's doing. So maybe we can look forward to implementing something like that here in Greensboro and Guilford County and Winston-Salem and Forsyth County.
That's wonderful. The reason I ask is one of the recurring themes that we've heard, and this covers college students, but also WIC mothers, is transportation. Access to transportation is a real issue for both college campuses. Either campuses are in very expensive areas and the students can't afford the groceries nearby, or they're in food apartheids where there aren't grocery stores nearby. And so transportation has been a recurring theme. Are there other themes that you all have heard tonight?
If I could add this, we are learning from the individuals that we have interacted with and will, and this is from the older adults that we have had interaction with, seniors, and younger folk, and some of the residents in our housing areas who are various age groups. What we're hearing is when we talk about fresh produce, when we talk about nutrition and healthy living, we're going to have to do a lot of educating because these individuals have not been exposed to healthy eating and preparation and recipe using. One of the things that we did when we passed out our food boxes, one of the members of our coalition is a retired gynecologist, and she took the time with the vegetables that we had in the boxes, she found recipes, simple recipes that we included in the boxes when we passed them out. So there's a lot of education that we're going to have to do with folk in terms of the fast food or what they can buy that's accessible in their neighborhoods from a Dollar General, or those aren't the best foods nutritionally.
Right.
So when we talk about healthy food, nutritional food, we're going to have to do some education as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that wholeheartedly. And I would say probably education is a component around WIC too. I know that in doing listening sessions, I have learned a lot about WIC that I didn't know before. And I think that there are probably a lot of folks out there like me who really aren't familiar with everything that is available through WIC, but also how it can be quite burdensome. Any other themes? Anyone have a story to share that might open up a family that you've met that the child tax credit was really a huge effect on their life, or someone who that has received WIC that was really helped by that program?
This doesn't really fit those themes, but it's another issue.
Okay.
I volunteer 2 days a week at a food pantry, and it's the biggest food pantry in the area. We did 148 families this morning, but because the cost of food has gotten so high, we aren't able to get meat, which
Oh, wow.
we've been able, we've always given meat, but we
Right.
just can't afford it right now.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm sorry to hear that, and I'm not surprised by it, but that is interesting. I see a hand up. Kathleen?
I think it's, I think a lot of these issues tie in with climate impacts as well. Lolita, when you were talking about, people needing to know how to use produce, I think the other thing is, how do we match healthy food with people, knowing that isn't it true? More than 40% of all of the food in the United States is wasted. So that means it's going to landfills or going somewhere else, and it's breaking down and creating more greenhouse gases. So it's like this double whammy. People aren't consuming healthy food, and then it's wasted, and then we have worsening greenhouse gas emissions, among other things. And so I don't know the answer to that question. And Lolita, like you said, maybe, I know that in Chapel Hill, they have a cool program where they have Title I schools where there's cool chefs that go in, and then Title I families come after, and they have food prep, and the food is all there, and then the kids and the parents make the food together, and they go home with another set of it so they can make it again. But so I think that's a kind of one issue with thinking about food. And I thought it was something else important, and then I forgot it. I'll tell you if I remember.
It'll come back to you when you stop thinking for it. Anyone else? You guys have been really great. Let's finish this up, and we'll get to our next steps. If you are interested in more information about listening sessions, if you'd like to lead a listening session, if you have a story that you think Brad needs to hear, you can scan the barcode there with your phone. It'll take you to a link that will let you sign up for this. There's also a link in the chat from earlier on about committing to do a listening session. And as always, in the follow-up email that you'll get to this meeting, you'll have all these links as well. So as I said before, these are incredibly important to our work. They're really interesting. No two are alike. And one of the things that we never want to be the organization that goes out and tries to create policy without bringing the voices of the people that those policies affect the most into the room. And so the listening sessions really give us a chance to hear from people whose lives are going to be changed by these policies, and that's really important to us. Kathleen, is your hand up again, or is it just still up?
Yeah,
Okay.
because my brain kicked into gear. And those
Okay.
three neurons fired again. So I thought I'd just throw in what my other thing is. And this is another thing I don't know how to address, but and was it Kathy, I guess you were saying that that meat is harder to come by from a price standpoint. Again, from a climate perspective, any of the ruminants, sheep and cows, they just are cranking out greenhouse gases. So to the extent that in our whole, our whole society needs to change. And one of the things is we need to figure out how to consume less meat. And I think that's across the board. We want everybody to have adequate protein, of course, but that doesn't need to mean meat every day, 7 days a week. So I don't know how to feed that into all of the challenges of nutrition, but it's crucial to think about.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do know that too, but it's just a big change.
So next steps, as I promised, you'll get all these links. If you haven't yet committed to do an OL, you can commit to do that. Sign up on the website, hold your offering of letters before the Advocacy Summit, and then don't forget to report those, please, pretty please. That way we know that you did them. Nourish our future listening sessions. As I said before, what we did tonight was a very kind of Cliff Notes version of one. The larger listening sessions are really more conversational and breathe a lot more, and they're wonderful. This says hold your listening session by June 30th, but we're going to be doing listening sessions all year. So don't worry about that date. We're going to be doing those. And when you do one, make sure that you report it as well. And again, you'll get these links in an email. Advocacy Summit. I have not put this link in the chat yet, but I'm going to now, because I would love to have a huge group from North Carolina to walk around with. I know several of you are going to be there. Brianna is going to be a part of our Justice Collective this year. I'm really excited about that. So we have 3 Brad folks from North Carolina who are going to be part of the Justice Collective, and I'm excited about that. So register there for the Advocacy Summit, and there will be an action alert. If you're not able to come in person, we'll have an action alert for you during the summit. Our next quarterly meeting is July 7th at 7. And you can scan that code and register right now if you want to. Of course, you'll get emails from me about that as it gets closer. We're doing a new email system, and that's why the emails were a little hectic this time, but we're getting there. So scan that code with your phone and register for the next meeting. And before we go, I'm going to stop sharing so we can see each other. I know a couple people had to get off. We are a little bit late, but we're not doing too bad, are we? Peter, would you mind closing us in prayer this evening?
Okay. Gracious Lord, we give thanks to you for your many blessings to us, and we ask you to guide us as we work to build a stronger organization in this state, and for how we can be feed into a successful program that will increase equity and effectiveness of our programs to fight hunger in this country and internationally. Thank you for your each person here tonight. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for a great discussion tonight.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Jason.
everybody.
Kathleen, I'd like to
Thank
hear
you.
more
Good night.
about the Title I after school program that you mentioned at another time.
You're muted, Kathleen.
I bet Jason can send me your email, Lolita.
Okay, thank you so much. Good
Can
night.
do.
Good night.
Good
Mhm.
night, all.